What does the future of television look like? Plus, what would happen if your dog talked to you? Right now, you're listening to Alternative Jargon. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of Alternative Jargon. I'm so happy to see you here. Episode 1 is out of the way. We got the pilot episode done. Big weight off the shoulders. Not that anybody really cared, but episode 2, here we are. These are not pre-recorded. This is not me talking from the past. Right now it's August 5th, 2021. We'll see when this goes out. I'd like to have it uploaded on Saturday, but we'll see what happens. Recording in 4K, so the YouTube upload might take like 3.5 eternities, but we'll see what happens. So, welcome back. I'm excited to be here. We have a couple of topics to get to today, but before we do, I'd like to address some of the feedback I got. I'm very pleased with the feedback I got. Some of it was great. Some of it was a little bit critical, but it was good critical about not necessarily the content of the last episode. Also, I just had like my hands covering the mic, which hopefully that didn't screw up the mic volume. But did get some feedback. I got feedback on the lighting, feedback on the video a little bit, and my talking. Speaking of I said about 100 times last episode, so we'll see if I can cut back on that a little bit. But there it is. There's the Let's get into it. I have to restrain myself from saying the word So, let's talk about television. Television's been around for a while, back in like the 50s and probably the 50s through the 80s. Your parents and their parents who had TV, they all had like 5 TV stations, right? Or less. They had like CBS, ABC, just the big ones, which are still around today, still doing pretty well, dominating a little bit. But it's changed a lot. Okay, we went from 5 TV stations to like 80 streaming services in very little time. Streaming services, bro. Okay, we got Netflix, we got Hulu, we got HBO Max, we got Paramount Plus, we got Disney Plus, we even got one called Peacock. What is up with Peacock, bro? If you didn't know, actually, the NBC logo is a peacock. So if you didn't know that, now you know. I've heard a lot of talk about Peacock. There's your Peacock for the day. How many times can I say Peacock in a minute? We'll see. But yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of streaming services. I don't know if there's a lot of people who are paying for most of them. But there are websites out there that have basically every TV show and movie that's ever come out in the history of entertainment on a single website. But I still see a lot of people paying for it. I think a lot of it is just ease of access. So it's easier to pay a monthly fee and to just hit a button on your smart remote for your smart TV than it is to plug in an HDMI from your laptop to your TV and close out 18 pop-up windows before you can actually make it full screen. So I understand why. But it is crazy how many streaming services there are now and how many shows and movies are constantly just bouncing between all of them. I mean, you could watch a movie on Netflix and the next day you'll be like, oh, you recommend it to your friend. You know, go watch The Social Network, bro. It's such a great movie about Mark Zuckerberg, which, by the way, you should watch that movie. It's really good. And it could just bloop, disappear. Now Hulu owns it. Now HBO owns it. I don't know all the inner workings of that, but I know it happens, and I know it happens often with these streaming services. Stuff just disappears or appears. But I do have Hulu. Hulu Live. I do enjoy Hulu Live. You get live TV plus Hulu's little streaming library for like $60 a month, and you don't have to do it through like Xfinity or AT&T because you don't have to do like a whole package, right? There's the whole package of, oh, you get internet, home phone, TV. It's like, that's cool, but I don't really need all that now. So Hulu Live is nice. I would recommend that, although you can only watch live TV in one location. You can't watch live TV on like 18 devices at once, which doesn't really sound like something you would ever need. But then you go to college and you want to watch a Phillies game, and you have to use an illegal stream website to do it because your dad is also watching the same Phillies game at home. But you work with it. It is what it is. Nothing's perfect. So that streaming service is definitely an interesting thing going on there right now. But let's talk about the old school network TV. It's still around. I know it's shocking. Network TV is still around. I don't know how, but it's still lurking in the shadows, and it might strike. It might strike you. Not to be entertaining. It's not entertaining. But it does still exist. So network TV, and by that I mean like TV shows that are exclusive to like CBS or ABC or Fox, they're still around. Here's the thing. I never watch those stations unless I'm watching sports, which I will get to sports very soon. Sports is like the main thing I want to talk about with TV. But so I'll be watching an NFL game, an NBA game, whatever, on like, let's say Fox. And it'll go to commercial break. And the last commercial before commercial break on any station is always like the station's own commercial. If you haven't noticed that, it'll either be a weather update, a news update, or a new promo for a show that's coming out on that network. And I always see these shows coming out, and all I can think to myself is like, who is watching this? Because the shows always look so generic, they look so boring, and nobody pays for like cable TV anymore. So who's watching these shows? I don't have the answer to that. But it really intrigues me because it must be old people, because I know nobody who's like, oh, let's catch the new episode of, I don't know, what even is one? I think Grownish. There's one called Grownish, like Grown-ish or something. That's just an example. Maybe Grownish is a great show. I'm just not willing to check it out. To be honest with you, I don't really watch TV shows all that often. My philosophy is I like to watch movies. If I'm interested in watching a story unfold, I like to watch a movie because I can get a whole story in 2 hours or less, maybe over if it's, a top 10 on IMDb, whatever it is, because they're all like 3-hour movies. But yeah, I like to get a whole story in 2 hours. I don't know, man. A TV show feels like such a commitment, especially the ones that are like hour-long episodes, and there's like a 13-episode season, and it's 3 seasons long, and somebody recommends it to you, and they're like, bro, don't worry, bro. It gets good in season 4, and it's like, man, that's like 28 hours of show I have to watch before the good part. I'm gonna go watch a movie. That's just my take on it, though. But yeah, back to network TV. I don't know who's watching these shows. It sort of feels like these networks are just throwing money in the garbage, because I don't know who's watching them, but apparently some people are, because they just keep starting new ones up and turning them things out like crazy, like it's a factory. But yeah, I mean, the thing about those shows is I haven't seen them all. Maybe there are some good ones, but they do seem very vanilla, very safe, not really content out there that is cutting edge or fun or cool. And I understand why they do that. The thing is with these networks is I think their advertisers just want a safe show that's not any way controversial or anything like that, because if they're running ads on that network, they don't want their ads to be shown on some weird TV show, which I understand why it happens. It's the same thing with the whole YouTube demonetization pandemic that we've seen in the past few years. A lot of content creators get demonetized for stuff they post that could be a little bit more, I don't even know the word, offensive, I guess, but not always offensive. Sometimes they just mention a single word in their video and that'll get it taken off. That'll get all the ads taken off. So it's pretty insane in that way, but I understand why it happens. That just is a call for people advertisers with more guts, advertisers that don't care about the most minor attacks to their brand. But I don't work in marketing. I don't work in advertising. So I don't know everything about that. But streaming services can actually have better content than these network TV shows. I think because it's running off of a paid subscription service instead of relying on ads. So I think it's a lot less likely that people will cancel their subscription to a service if there's a show on it or a movie that offends them than advertisers would be to pull their money out of a network because there's an offensive show or something. So, and I'm not saying that a show has to be offensive to be good, but I'm saying that most good shows and movies that a lot of people like and that actually carry like value are the ones that sort of dare to do something more or bigger than just your average everyday movie, if you get what I'm saying. So like some of the biggest and most successful shows and movies of all time are the ones that really piss a lot of people off. So it's nice to see some of those out there. Now, even though streaming services, I think the content is less diluted and less vanilla than stuff on network TV, it's still not as good as just user content that you can find on social media. This is a big reason why I love to watch YouTube videos and I love to listen to podcasts that are not affiliated with any network or any other parent company. It's because the people in those shows and in those podcasts or movies or whatever, they can kind of say whatever they want without worrying about the big boss getting mad. So I think it's a lot better. And a great example of this I have, if you remember last year, like in the middle of quarantine, I think it came out in like May, I believe, something like that. But it was the Jeffrey Epstein documentary on Netflix. Now, everyone's familiar with Jeffrey Epstein. Had the pedophile island, really stand-up guy. He's got a lot of really rich, famous friends, powerful friends who all, participated in his island. So, and then it's so funny to watch the Netflix documentary. And I'm not saying there was nothing truthful in that documentary, but let's be real. Nothing that was really that breakthrough would come out on that documentary about Jeffrey Epstein because it's Netflix. It's like the biggest streaming service in the world. And if those people who made Jeffrey Epstein kill himself, quote unquote, are powerful enough to kill him, they're also powerful enough to stop people from making a documentary on Netflix that actually exposes them. That's all I'm going to say about that. So it's like that. If you want real info on Jeffrey Epstein, you probably shouldn't go to CBS or ABC or NBC for all of that because there's a decent chance that all those companies are being paid off by the same people that killed Jeffrey Epstein. So that's just my example with that. That's one of the reasons I love independent creators and one of the reasons why I decided to become one. Not that I'm a creator, but it's just a fun thing to do. So that's all I have to really say about shows and movies and stuff like that. Let's move on to sports TV. Now, sports is one of the main components that are keeping network TV alive. Sports are very prevalent on all the major networks. NBC's got sports, ABC's got sports, etc., etc., etc. However, millions of people right now are using illegal streaming services, and I'm guilty. You're probably guilty. Why not? When you move to college or anywhere and you want to watch a game, there's 100 websites for it now. And the ratings are down on a lot of sports. Rating just means how many people are watching. And there's a big theory that the ratings are only down because of all of these illegal streaming websites. So the thing is, you are not counted towards the rating of a show or a sports event if you're not watching on like an official network. So if I'm watching the Super Bowl on Hulu or the Super Bowl on Comcast, it's going to get counted towards the rating. But if I'm watching the Super Bowl on a website that I will not name because I would like it to keep up, I don't want the website to get taken down because I want to keep watching sports for free. But if I'm watching on one of the illegal sites, it's not going to count towards that rating. So whenever you hear like, oh, NBA ratings down 40% and NFL ratings down 30%, it doesn't mean less people are watching, really. It probably means that all of those 40 and 30% are watching on another website. So what does the future look like because of this? Now, I thought maybe I was just brainstorming for this episode in my head, and while I was thinking about this, I was like, well, why don't they just make games free everywhere? Why doesn't NFL just on their website make games free to watch? Because I was like, well, most of their money probably just comes from advertising, so who cares if you have to pay for a subscription to a service if all their money comes from ads? But that is not true. I looked into it and it completely slipped my mind because I sort of already knew this earlier, but I just wasn't thinking. Actually, this is just the NFL. I didn't do NBA or anything. This is NFL. Most of the NFL's money comes from the deals they make with networks. So the NFL this past March just signed its new rights deals with all of the big networks to broadcast its games. And over the course between 2023 and 2033, the NFL will be making $100 billion just from TV deals. $100 billion. An example of one network, NBC. So NBC does Sunday Night Football. NBC broadcasts one NFL game a week. So that's a total of 17 games a year, not including the years that they have the Super Bowl. 17 games a year. They are paying the NFL over $2 billion a year for 17 games, which is absolutely insane. I mean, you look at, okay, you think Patrick Mahomes' contract last year was big, or you think Steph Curry's contract he just signed was big. Man, look at the broadcast deals. That's big. And I'm not saying that Patrick Mahomes making $50 million a year isn't big. That's huge, but holy crap. You wonder how the NFL can spend so much money. Look at the network TV deals. It's crazy. So the NFL is never going to turn that money down. The NFL is never going to say, well, you know what? I think we should start giving people games for free. Let's just broadcast on our website and we'll make money off ads. No. Nah, they're going to take their $100 billion and laugh to the bank. Roger Goodell definitely will. So that is sort of the state of sports on TV right now. Everyone's using illegal streaming services, but at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters. Because whenever, let's say somebody from NBC gets upset because they go to the NFL and they say, hey, your guys' ratings are down 30%. We're like not, advertisers don't want to advertise on our broadcast anymore because like nobody's watching anymore. So how it works is the NFL plays football games. NBC records those football games live, and companies pay to put their ads on NBC during those live broadcasts. So if viewership goes down on NBC, that sort of starts a chain reaction that could explode the whole thing, but it's not going to, because that's when the NFL says, yeah, well, everyone's using illegal streaming services. Everyone's still going to see your ads no matter what. Because even if you're using illegal streaming, the ad still runs. People still see and hear the ad. They're still brainwashed. That's the end of that. I don't think that illegal streaming services really impact the market very badly. Dana White got pissed off about it. He said, if I find out you're using a legal streaming service, I'll hunt you down, or whatever he said. I forget his quote. But now that's different because UFC's pay-per-view. That is different. But As for the rest that are sort of in the more traditional way of broadcasting, I don't see any big deal. So that kind of seals up, that kind of ends the television conversation today. But I've got another topic, and I never know how to transition into the next topic, because we're going to go from talking about television to talking about if your dog talked to you. Look, I'd like to think I have a lot of tricks up my sleeve to carry out a smooth conversation in front of a camera and mic, but there's just no way to do it. There's no way to go from talking about TV to talking about talking dogs. And if you can think of one, please enlighten me, because I'm just not gifted enough. Let's talk about if a dog talked to you. So if you're watching this and you have a dog, you obviously have your dog in your head. But if you don't have a dog, imagine you're at your friend's house who does have a dog. So you're at your friend's house, they have a dog, or you're with your dog alone, and there's no one else around. Let's say your friend leaves. For the courtesy and ease of telling this story, I'm just going to pretend you're at your friend's house with a dog. Your friend leaves the room. He goes downstairs to grab a snack. You're up in his room. So he goes to get a snack, and they come back. Well, they don't come back. And their dog is chilling there with you. And their dog looks at you, and you look back at it, and you're like, "Oh, what's up, Fuzzy? What are you thinking?" And he says back to you, "We can all think. We can all talk. We understand everything you say. I'll never talk again. Don't tell anybody." That's what the dog says. And you just crap your pants. You crap your pants. Okay, it sounds like a funny story. "Oh, Fuzzy, talk to me. Oh my gosh." It's not a funny story. It's not a funny story. You would go crazy if a dog talked to you. Okay? If a dog talked to you just once and he said that, yeah, all dogs can do it, we just don't ever do it, and then a dog never talked to you again, can you imagine how absolutely traumatizing that would be to you? Your friend would come back in the room with a snack. He'd walk in with a bag of nacho cheese Doritos, and you would be like just sitting there staring at a wall. I mean, it sounds funny, man, but like, let's be real about this. People would treat you like you were one of the people who saw a UFO. You ever see those travel TV clips where they interview some crazy person who's like, "Oh yeah, and then the alien came down and I got abducted," and all this crazy stuff? That would be you the rest of your life. So you either tell everyone that a dog talked to you, or you keep it in the rest of your life. And either way, you're going to get driven crazy. All right? And also, let's just not talk about how humans would perceive you if you told them that a dog talked to you. Let's talk about all the times that you were ever around animals. You'd have to think about that, right? So that dog just told you that every other animal on Earth, like, knows English, knows whatever language, and they've seen everything you do for your whole life. Like, just you're around animals every day. You walk out the door and there's like birds, and there's whatever else. There's groundhogs, there's deer. Those animals have been interpreting everything you've ever done, which is crazy. And yeah, I mean, imagine you go back to that friend's house and you never told him about the whole incident, and you see that dog again, and you and the dog lock eyes. Man, that would be, I mean, this is fun to joke about, but holy crap, dude. I mean, Fido might have to go. That'd be some sketchy stuff. But you'd be a social outcast. Let's be real. There's no coming back from that. So, I don't even know what to say about that. That'd be terrifying. But, yeah. Shaking my head. SMH. So, that is about that is about all I have to talk about. I was talking about the whole dog thing with a few of my buddies, and they didn't really, we talked about it, but like, I wanted to go a little bit deeper on it. So, yeah, I mean, talking dog sounds funny, but it's not. It'd be terrifying. So, that'll about wrap up this episode, I think. 26 minutes in. Well, that's how long I've been recording, but we had a light issue that I had to fix, so I don't know how long this is. But, yeah, I don't know if I should keep the episodes shorter. I mean, I could talk about a lot more stuff in one episode, but I kind of like to keep them in the 20-minute mark. It's sort of a bite-sized podcast. If you've got a drive more than 10 miles somewhere, you can probably listen to this whole thing on the drive there. Or you can sit down and you can eat some nacho cheese Doritos and a can of Perrier seltzer water, and you're done in 20 minutes, and you can move on to the next YouTube video, because let's be real, nobody's attention span is long enough for this. So, yeah, that about wraps it up, I think. Thank you again for listening, and if a dog talks to you, hit me up, because I'll understand exactly where you're coming from, and I'll believe you. So, I will catch you guys next time. Peace.